I want to tell you about a place I found once, a long time ago. A place I still return to whenever the world feels too loud. Close your eyes if they aren't already. Let your shoulders drop. Let your hands rest. There is nowhere you need to be tonight. Nothing you need to remember. Just this. Just the sound of my voice and the place I'm going to take you. It was late in the afternoon when I first found the path. I had been walking for hours through the old forest, the kind of forest that feels older than the kingdom around it. The trees were tall here, oak and ash, and something I couldn't name, with bark the colour of storm clouds and leaves that caught the last of the light and held it like cupped hands holding water. The floor of the forest was soft beneath my feet. Moss, thick and yielding, the colour of the deepest green you have ever seen. And ferns, everywhere ferns, curling out from between the roots, uncurling slowly toward the pale sky above. I was tired. Not the tired of a single long day, but the tired that settles into your bones after many days of travel. The kind of tired where you stop thinking about where you are going and simply walk. And so I was simply walking, following the path without following it really, when I heard the water. At first I thought it was the wind in the high branches, but the trees were still. No, it was water. Somewhere ahead, water was falling. I followed the sound. The path curved gently to the left, between two great roots that rose from the earth like the arched doorway of some ancient hall. And then I saw it. A waterfall. Not a grand or thundering thing. Small and quiet and utterly perfect. It fell from a shelf of grey rock, perhaps twice my height, through a curtain of hanging ferns and pale wildflowers I could not name, into a pool below that was dark and still and mirror smooth at the edges, and alive with movement at its centre where the water met it. The sound of it filled everything. Not loudly, it was never loud, but completely. Like the sound had always been there, underneath all the other sounds of the world, and I had simply never been quiet enough to hear it. And beside the waterfall, half hidden behind a curtain of ivy that had grown so thick and long, it seemed the cottage had asked it to come, and the ivy had agreed. There was a cottage. Stone walls, dark with age and damp. A roof of living moss, green and deep, from which small yellow flowers grew in clumps, unplanned and happy. One window, warm with light. A door of old wood, rounded at the top, with iron fittings gone to rust, and then to something almost beautiful. And from beneath the door, and from somewhere within, came the smell of wood smoke, and something sweet I couldn't quite name. Herbs, perhaps, or flowers dried and burning slowly, or some combination of things that had no name in any language I spoke. I stood there for a long moment. The waterfall spoke beside me. The light in the window did not flicker. And then the door opened. The person who stood there was old, or seemed old, though their eyes were young in a way that had nothing to do with age. They wore robes the colour of the forest, grey-green and brown, and the faded blue of sky between branches. Their hair was long and loose, and the colour of the ash from a fire that has burned all night and gone to silver by morning. They looked at me the way someone looks at a guest they have been expecting, though I had expected nothing and had no reason to be expected by anyone. "Come in," they said. Just that. Come in. And I did. The inside of the cottage was small and warm and full of things. Books, shelves of them, from floor to ceiling on every wall that wasn't a window or a door, and even in the spaces beside those, crammed in sideways, stacked in piles on the floor in front, balanced on the windowsill beside small pots of growing herbs whose names I did not know. Candles, dozens of them, on the shelves between the books, on a long wooden table that ran the length of one wall, in tall iron holders on the floor, all of them lit, though I could not imagine how. There were no drafts here, no movement of air at all, and yet each flame stood perfectly still, perfectly upright, as though they had agreed among themselves to be calm. A fireplace, deep and low and wide, with a fire that had been burning for a long time and was comfortable in the knowledge of it. Above the fire, a kettle hung from a hook, steaming, already steaming. "Sit," the mage said, gesturing to a chair beside the fire. It was the kind of chair that remembers every person who has sat in it, deep and worn and shaped to welcome. I sat. The fire spoke quietly to itself. The waterfall spoke outside. Together they made a sound that was not quite music and not quite silence, but something better than either. The mage moved through the cottage without hurry, without a word, lifting a jar from a shelf, opening it, smelling it, nodding once, adding something to the kettle, lifting another. I watched without watching. My eyes grew heavy. The fire was very warm. After a while, I could not have said how long, the mage set a cup on the arm of my chair. The cup was plain, ceramic, the colour of unglazed earth. The tea inside it was the colour of autumn. I lifted it with both hands. It was exactly the right weight, exactly the right warmth. I drank. It tasted of something I could not name, not sweet, not bitter. Like the last hour of afternoon, like the sound of rain on a roof you are safe beneath, like the feeling of arriving somewhere after a long journey and knowing you do not have to leave again tonight. I don't remember setting the cup down. I don't remember the mage speaking, though I have a feeling they did. Something quiet. Something that had no words in it really. Only the intention of words. A kindness. I remember the fire, the way it shifted and settled, the way the shadows moved on the ceiling, slowly, like clouds, and the candlelight held still. I remember the sound of the waterfall, always the waterfall, steady and soft and constant. The way it had always been there, I thought. The way it would always be there. There is a place, I want to tell you, where the moss is thick and the water falls without stopping, and the fire is warm, and the chair remembers you, and the tea tastes of arriving. You are there now. You have always been going there. Rest, rest, rest.